It was July 2013 when 53-years-old Marty Schmidt and 25-years-old Denali Schmidt said goodbye to their friends and family and started their hike to the summit of K2. But who knew it'd be the last time anyone saw them alive? Marty and Denali Schmidt were a New Zealander father-son duo who were embarking on this treacherous climb with other mountaineers. But sadly, their journey will leave their family and the mountaineering community in deep sorrow. This is the story of the K2 disaster of 2013. Marty Schmidt was a very experienced and well-known climber in the mountaineering community. He had climbed all the 7 summits, which is considered a huge achievement. But that's not it, since he was also the first New Zealander ever to summit Makalu solo without using bottled oxygen. Additionally, he was a well-respected guide who guided other mountaineers on their climbs of some of the most perilous mountains in the world. His son, Denali Schmidt, on the other hand, was well on track toward following in his father's footsteps. Denali was born into an adventurous family, so naturally, he was inclined toward mountaineering. Soon after he was born, his family went on to climb in various countries, including New Zealand, the USA, Italy, Switzerland, and France. He too soon became a professional mountain climber. Both father and son made quite a duo, going on adventures together and achieving unprecedented deeds. They even created a new route for the mountain Denali, which they named the Dad and Son route. These accomplishments earned them the community's respect and showed their passion and love for this hobby. It was also a testament to their skill and prowess as mountaineers. However, there was still one mountain climb missing from the collection of the duo: the deadly K2 mountain. K2 is the second largest mountain in the world, located between the borders of China and Pakistan. And as you might have heard, it's considered to be one of the most difficult mountains to summit and is known for claiming the lives of many people who attempted to climb it over the years. Marty Schmidt had tried to summit K2 twice already, but both attempts had been unsuccessful. His first attempt was in 1992, and his second attempt was in 2000. Denali Schmidt, on the other hand, had just graduated and was looking forward to his next big climb. So, they both decided they were going to be the first father-son team to summit K2 together. The preparations began, but little did they know what awaited them during their climb. Marty and Denali Schmidt did not start the hike alone, as they had one more team member with them, an Australian climber named Chris Warner. Marty had met Chris in an earlier expedition climbing Cho Oyu together, but in separate teams. Chris was also a very accomplished and highly experienced climber, and they both stayed in contact and planned the expedition to reach the summit of K2 together. It was also Warner's second attempt at climbing K2 himself, and his first time meeting Denali in person. The expedition began with a long walk to the base camp of K2. For those who don't know, the base camp acts as the starting point for most climbers, and this long walk by the team of 3 allowed them to acclimate to the environment. At this point, everything seemed fine, and Marty and Denali Schmidt enjoyed the views of the K2 mountain. After reaching the base camp at the bottom of the K2 mountain, they decided to climb a neighboring peak called the Giant Broad Peak. This climb served 2 functions. The first reason for this climb was to participate in the rescue attempt of 3 Iranian climbers who had gone missing earlier while climbing the Giant Broad Peak. The second function of this climb was for the team members to get high-altitude acclimatization, which would help them when summiting K2 mountain. The rescue attempt ended up being unsuccessful, and the Iranian climbers were never found. This would be a grim omen, marking the beginning of Marty and Denali Schmidt's expedition. After the rescue attempt had been unsuccessful, a weather window presented itself that could make the climb to the peak of K2 possible by July 28th. Marty and Denali Schmidt's team grasped the opportunity and set out for Camp 2 of K2 early on July 25th. They reached the camp just after midday. The expedition was going well, and Marty and Denali Schmidt were very excited and energetic about the path that lay ahead. This was a solid start with great weather that could put them at the peak of K2 in just a few days. The team was prepared to make a single push, so they had packed pretty light, with only enough food for a few days and only one camp with them. The acclimation had gone well too, and the father-son duo was ready for whatever came next. Having reached Camp 2 in time, the team decided to pass out the night. They sat cooking and resting when news came that a few Sherpas had been unable to reach Camp 3 because of poor snow conditions. This bore bad news for the group, since Camp 3 was their next destination. The snowing had been light for the whole of the afternoon, and the news about snow conditions up ahead had been varied. Some said it was chest deep, and some said it was waist deep. The Sherpas trying to reach Camp 3 had tried to push through the snow despite the unsafe condition. But after one of the Sherpas slid down the mountain for quite a distance, and a loose snow avalanche came down on them, they abandoned their attempt and came back down. Every other team at Camp 2 decided that continuing the expedition under these snow conditions would be very dangerous and turned back. Some of the teams had decided to cancel their summit bids, and others had abandoned the expedition altogether. However, Marty and Denali Schmidt, alongside their companion Chris Warner, wanted to continue their expedition despite the risks involved. This would prove to be a fatal mistake. In the morning, Chris Warner had changed his mind and decided not to go up to Camp 3 with the father-son duo due to the continuous snowfall during the night. Marty and Denali Schmidt accepted his decision, but they were still convinced that continuing the climb was their best option. The team split up, and Chris Warner descended back to the base camp. Once he reached the base camp, he waited for Marty Schmidt to make his regular radio call. The wait wasn't long as the call arrived on time, letting the climbers who had given up know that the father-son duo was safe and sound and had made it to Camp 3. Warner inquired what the duo was planning for the next day, but the conversation was short, and Marty Schmidt said he would inform Warner of their plan the next day through the morning radio call. But no such radio call ever arrived. The father-son duo failed to make contact the next morning, and again, no communication came through during the regular evening radio call time. Warner slept with his radio turned on, hoping that a call would eventually come through. But this proved to be fruitless, as no contact could be established. The next day, after a full day of no contact, Warner was able to convince some Sherpas to go and check Camp 3 to hopefully find Marty and Denali Schmidt alive and well. The Sherpas climbed the mountain quickly and established a radio contact to inform Warner and other climbers of their discovery. The whole Camp 3 site had been wiped out by a large avalanche. The Sherpas could not find the father-son duo who had been inspired to be the first to reach the peaks of K2 together. Nor they, nor their tent could be found amidst the scars left by the avalanche. The only thing found by the Sherpas eventually was some of the equipment used by Marty and Denali Schmidt. This wasn't a good sign, since the expert climbers would not have left the campsite without their tools with them, as the mountain would be impossible to navigate without the equipment. The date was the 26th of July. The Sherpas were quick to descend back down the mountain since they realized how dangerous the weather conditions were. Marty and Denali Schmidt were deemed missing for the next few days. But on the 29th of July 2013, Sequoia D'Angelo, the daughter of Marty Schmidt, confirmed their death through Twitter. It was theorized that the duo was asleep in their tent when the avalanche hit the Camp 3 site, killing them both in their sleep. Their death was a source of great pain for the family and a time of mourning for the mountaineering community. The bodies of the duo were not recovered from the avalanche, and there was a strong possibility that they would never be recovered. However, a Swiss climber named Mike Horn would discover some of the body parts later on, which he filmed and posted online. This would spark outrage in the mountaineering community, since the body parts were not properly buried by Mike Horn upon their discovery. But it was unsure whether the remains were of the father-son duo or one of the other climbers who had died trying to summit K2. Upon seeing the remains, Sequoia D'Angelo decided to journey to K2 Base Campo and give a final farewell to her father and brother. The remains were retrieved and given a burial at the K2 Memorial. Later, DNA test revealed that the remains were not of Marty or Denali Schmidt. This concludes that the duo still remains in the heart of K2, and maybe the mountain just accepted them as its part. If you have followed this story to this point, then I would like to say thank you. If you like this type of story, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. You can also turn on the notification bell to get an alert when another video is posted. Until next time, stay safe.